signal on where we stand in terms of the normative principles and the impact and the implementation of UNCLOS within our own region. So I would assume that that gives a much stronger message than us having to actually say that we don't support Chinese historicity or claims of historicity to the region. My final question is to Professor Ghoshal, which I was very interested, sir, with your the comment that you made on starting an Asian quadrilateral. One of the things to my mind is that even the quadrilateral as it is currently, as it has been currently conceived, it again focuses on principles of freedom of navigation and the normative order. Now, given that the United States is a primary security provider to the region, how would the Asian quadrilateral then either factor in the United States role or not factor in the United States role? Thank you.
Thank you. Would Admiral Dhawan like to answer the first part that I'll ask you, then Professor Ghoshal?
Thank you very much for that question. It is indeed a situation which has to be seen in perspective, because the whole concept of the global commons, where we have 90% of the world's trade transiting by sea, and I made mention that nearly $5 trillion worth of seaborne commerce as well as energy supplies pass through the South China Sea. So we have to have the freedom of navigation. These global economic highways have to run, because the impact of any impediment to these global economic highways is not just on the economies of the region, but on global economies as well. So there is no doubt that freedom of navigation has to be respected. We have to follow the rules of the game, in this case, the UNCLOS. And your question is very pertinent, and it's that we all understand that. But what do we do when somebody who understands the rules does not want to actually adhere to them? Here I would like to suggest that rather than have additional organizations formed up to talk, because there's nothing short of discussions, talk, and actual things on the ground, we could take the help of existing organizations, which are organized structures. In the maritime domain, I mentioned one, which is the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, which has 22 member navies. The IORA, incidentally, has 20 members whose navy is also part of IONS, and in recent years there's been some synergy between the IONS and IORA. Some of our ASEAN members are part of the IONS, but there's another organization very similar, which is called the Western Pacific Naval Symposium. Now, when you actually join the two together, then all the players from United States to China and those ASEAN members who are not part of the IONS or part of the WPNS are all covered. I think this provides an ideal setup where we need to have more synergy and more interaction between the IONS and the WPNS to take on specific issues which are of concern. I'm aware that we have looked at the aspect related to piracy, we've had the aspect related to security issues, we've had a look at humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, because what is being threatened by the aggressive posture of China in the South China Sea is not just the sovereignty issues. There are larger issues even of the offshore oil and minerals, the aspect related to trade. So there has to be discussion to perhaps take away a little focus from what is central and discuss the other issues which impact. We had some of the measures like DOC, the Declaration of Conduct. We had talks about the aspect of having certain rules for unaccounted encounters at sea, the Qs, which was suggested during one of the WPNS meeting. But I would suggest that the navies of the entire Indo-Pacific region, which get combined under IONS and WPNS, actually take this on and discuss this. If nothing else, it should start by having some confidence-building measures, which will put into place some declarations of conduct, some types of confidence building measures. Firstly, so that we do not have adventures out at sea, that it doesn't lead on to some shooting match inadvertently or otherwise. So we need to have the confidence building measures put in place, because the impact of trade, the impact of the economics, which is actually going to be the key, impacts China as much as it impacts everybody else. Huge amount of China's trade, 80% and above of oil and trade requirement, pass through the Indian Ocean region. That is itself the purpose of why China is looking at other options like the BRICS to secure the aspect of the threat and take care of the Malacca dilemma that it has. So I think the start point is to have a common ground, and existing structures such as the IONS and WPNS provide an avenue where we sit and actually take up some of these issues on the agenda. We are not indicating that we'll get success on the first meeting, but certainly there will be talk, there will be certain confidence building measures, and both sides, navies from both sides, other agencies can be involved to take this on.
Thank you, Chair. Again, on the questions of centrality, ASEAN domestically views centrality as a gatekeeper and agenda setting. It's very important to internal ASEAN. Anything that's put on the summit meeting or something have to clear that process. They like to check everything. And if it's sensitive, critically sensitive, they often don't want to put it on. But the most important for me, when we speak about ASEAN centrality, I've used ASEAN centrality as the ability for ASEAN to steer and achieve concretely what has been the ASEAN aspiration to maintain the region of Southeast Asia free from tensions, free from conflicts, ensuring that everything is manageable. That is a question. However, when I said that, one have to take into account that ASEAN alone, you know, this is related to ASEAN in the driver's seat, ASEAN way, you can say it, anything. But the point is that what India or other dialogue partner in my second definition of ASEAN centrality can do is to ensure that ASEAN can achieve that. So far, I don't see it. Sorry, thank you for saying that I'm quite blunt, and here I want to be very blunt. It's very